Hello and welcome to the Art of Caro. This will be the first part of me knitting my Lord of the Rings inspired sweater. I am not finished with the sweater yet when I'm recording this intro, and I realize I have so much footage that I can't do it in a single video. So there will be two parts of the knitting of the sweater and one part where I talk about my design choices, a bit about how I changed the original pattern to suit my needs, how I made the choices for what to include on the sweater, what I prioritize, go through my source material for the choices of my designs a bit and stuff like that. That will be the third part. So in this video I'm going to be doing the knitting of the sweater, and in the beginning and throughout there is a lot of me talking and just showing what I'm doing. I'm very new at knitting and this is a really big project, and I just needed to focus on the actual knitting and not so much at setting up the camera and stuff like that. And I will explain that in the video as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video and my journey to make something that's really special for me. I have a very deep bond to Lord of the Rings. It has been a very important part of my life, and I might go into that a bit in the third video, but for now let's just get into the video. So I got my knitting needles yesterday, and today I was really excited about my project, so I started without filming and stuff like that, so I'm sorry about that. I never done any knitting where you work with more than one thread, like more than one color, so this is going to be new. So you can see the ribbing around the neckline, that's what I've knitted, and I knitted with this deep blue because it reminds me of the blue that the elven soldiers wears in the beginning of Lord of the Rings, when you can see Elrond and some of the other elves in the beginning in the army wears some blue like this, and also reminds me of Arwen's blue velvet dress in certain lights and some other clothing. And also I think some of the hobbits have some blue like this in the clothes. It's in the Lord of the Ring color palette, and I thought it would be really nice. So I am, according to the pattern, meant to do 6 centimeters of this ribbing, but I'm not gonna do that. This is the first sweater I've ever knit. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've decided to only do 4.5 centimeter of the ribbing, and that's because I don't want the neckline to be too close to my throat. And I think if I do a smaller section of the ribbing, when I continue to do the yoke out to the shoulders and stuff like that, it will pull it a bit further out because there's no increasing until after the yoke. So I've done this like 4.5 centimeters. I'm doing the small size. I want to talk about my knitting needles. So I am new to knitting, so I didn't have knitting needles. That's not one of them. So I had to order more. Those I'm using now are Knit Pro Nova. I ordered the cheapest one in each size that I could get my hand on for this from the place I ordered from, because I'm new at this and I don't really want to invest in all the expensive stuff if I don't even know if I'm gonna like this. So, but Knit Pro, and I've liked these. Are really nice, except when you use these are steel, so metal circular needles, and the metal ones I've noticed with the socks and stuff like that is that it's easy to sort of drop a stitch because it doesn't really have any hold, but that also makes the knitting really smooth. So that's nice, and I kind of find the sound when the needles knock into each other kind of pleasing. I know some people find it annoying, but I kind of find it pleasing. So I liked these, and those I started with is 3.5 millimeters and 40 centimeters round, or like, yeah. And then the size up for those, these are my small needles. These are also 3.5, but they are 80 centimeters in the like loop wire thingy. And these are aluminium needles, and these are from Pony Classic. It's called Pony Classic. I'm guessing these are Knit Pro. The company is Knit Pro and the type is Nova, and these are Pony Type Classic. And these are stuff like I remember, I think this brand is what they always had in a textile class in school. Then we have the 4.5 needles, 40 centimeters and 80 centimeters, and they are both Knit Pro Basic beach needles, basics with an X. So they're going to be interesting, and I want to go into that because this is going to be a little bit of a review for myself, because I get to try 3 different kinds of knitting needles for this. Yeah, so now I've had the 40 3.5, and it wants me to switch over to the 40 4.5 for the just regular knitting, and we shall see how I like these ones. And then I'm gonna continue to knit a round of regular stitches where I increase by 16 stitches, evenly distributed. And it's good because it has like a section that sort of explains stuff to me, and also on the website you can watch videos and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do that, and I think I'm gonna continue to just knit without filming until I start changing color, and then I'm gonna do update, and I'm not gonna film me changing colors and threads and stuff like that until I start to get a bit more comfortable, because I don't want to screw up my knitting by focusing on setting up the camera, since this is so very new to me, and it kind of takes a bit of concentration, and also when I get into it I sort of forget that stuff is happening. Yeah, so I'm gonna update after I begin with another color, because as soon as I'm done, oh yeah, I'm gonna do some kind of thing that makes it higher in the back of the neck, and after I've done that I can switch over to making the A1 pattern, and I kind of want to show you. In the original pattern, this is the A1 design. You're knitting this from the neck down, so it's this is like how it's going to end up when it's right sides up later on, but you knit it, yeah, like so. So this is how I changed it, and I'm going to be knitting from there, I guess, like, yeah, here, but it's going to be upside down, so yeah. And some of this is just like because the colors reminds me of Lord of the Rings, but some is going to be a bit more easily spotted as Lord of the Rings. When I start in on the patterns, I will show it to you guys. So I'm gonna transfer my knitting to my new needles and keep on knitting. Okay, so I just decided I'm not gonna do the raised back neck. I'm just gonna do circular back, because there is so much new stuff I'm going to learn. I don't feel like learning the back thing, and it also a risk that it's going to annoy me, so I'm gonna jump past that point, which means I get to do the pattern, I think. I just want to talk about these yarns. It's Drops. My cat is sneezing in the background, if you're wondering what that is. Yeah. Drops Merino Extra Fine. Superwash treated extra fine merino wool. So it's 100% wool. and it's really soft and nice. So I'm going to test out switching yarn color. Okay, so I got kind of absorbed into the knitting. I moved my knitting to the 80 centimeters needles, and I've done 2 rows. The green one is inspired by the elves, and the brown and yellow one is inspired by the dwarves. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but in my head it does. These are just some small patterns, so I didn't have a lot of room to figure out anything more detailed. So I thought I would try to show you when I'm switched over to my first more detailed thing, and that's the axe. And again, I'm working the bottom portion and then up, or like, no, I'm working the top portion and working my way down, I mean. But for the pattern, it seems like, yeah, I didn't explain that well. So I'm gonna show you how I switch colors. It's just basically I just start up with a new color, and then you can see my ends here. When I get a bit further along, I'm going to start finishing off my ends, so I don't have to do all of them at the end. So I'm gonna shift the camera, get some yarn out, and then I'm gonna just, so where is my marker? Yeah, so I'm putting this marker on so I know where I am in the start of a new portion, or like a new round, I mean. And then instead of going with brown, I just knit up the blue, and then I just keep knitting. And it's that easy. As you can see, it looks a bit bad here, but that's going to be fixed when I just make sure all my ends are dealt with. You can see it looks a lot better when I pull them a bit. So that's just because they haven't been fixed yet. So so now I'm just going to knit 1 round of the blue to start it off with before I start with the pattern. And for this one I'm actually going to do 3 different colors, and I figured out how I do 2 colors, but I haven't figured out 3 colors yet, so I'm gonna try to film me figuring that out. So I watched some videos on how they did with knitted with 3 colors, and they were kind of confusing, so I just do what I think makes sense, and it might turn out really bad, and then it will be my own fault, but this is how I did it. I just told them, I understand that the order of dominance, the color you want to be most prominent is meant to be in the bottom, and then the least prominent, like the background color, is on top of the back strands. So I wanted the sort of blades of the axe to be most dominant, and in the middle I want the shaft, and at the top I want the background color. So I do one side, the middle, the other side, and then the background. And I do this as loosely as I feel comfortable with, and then I stretch. Stretchy. And I need to make sure I got some. And then again. And oh, because now they have jumped. They aren't supposed to lay like that. supposed like lay like this. So side, middle, side, background, stretch, side, middle, side, back, background. And then I'm just going to keep doing this all the way around, and then another one of those, and then I'm going to remove the light gray so I get the axe shape, at least in theory. Okay, so I haven't updated and I've done a whole bunch. Sorry. Oh, my eczema is really showing. But okay. Yeah, so I've done... You know what? I'm just gonna change the angle of the camera. Okie dokie. So what I've got here is... Did that first bit. And then a row that reminds me of the elves. A row that's sort of meant to be dwarf inspired. It's probably doesn't make a lot of sense. It makes sense to me. And then this axe row that is dwarf inspired, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then this one is inspired by Boromir's sleeves, and also the color combination is also found in the Hobbits. So I've enjoyed that, and I've started out on making the tree of Gondor. So as you can see here, so I'm working my way up, so like so, and I've done this row. So this is the next row, and I struggled a bit because it turns out up until this point where you're meant to increase, this isn't actually this wide, it's actually just this wide, which I hadn't anticipated, so I had to do some adjustments, but I think I figured it out. And here again you're going to increase again, but that's not going to be a problem. It was the fact that it was slimmer up here than this would suggest. So if I would have drawn out the design, I would have done so differently, but I mean, I don't really know anything about knitting design, so I just go with what I think would have made sense, and I think making this like go in a bit so you didn't interpret that as having... But anyway, I've changed someone else's design, so if you made the sweater as it was meant to be made, it probably would have made sense. So I'm just going to continue with this row and then move my way down. And yeah, but I think it's turning out really cool. So I'm gonna film a little bit. My camera is about to die because I forgot to charge it. So I'm gonna film a bit with me knitting on the tree of Gondor, and then we can then I'm going to shut down the camera and we'll have our next update. Okay, so I have finished knitting the Tree of Gondor section. Let's see. And it turned out great. It's going to be a lot more visible when I continue. So I'm going to do another row of the red and yellow. now, as you can see. Here I am. I'm gonna do this part. No, sorry. I'm gonna do this part because I'm going this way. I get confused. I'm gonna do this part, and then the first line of the bag end door. Yes, the first line of light blue, and then I'm going to leave the gaps for the sleeves, or like, yeah, I haven't done something like that before, so it's going to be interesting. So I'll update you after I've done. I'm gonna continue knitting until I get to the sleeve portion, and then I'll update you. Sorry, I got really into the knitting again. So I have knit together the I knit together the portion underneath where the sleeves are going to come out. As you can see, the tree of Gondor turned out really nice, and under that it sort of curves up. You can see the door to bag end. And under there I'm going to knit some bows for the elves. And so far I'm really happy with how it's turning out. So I've done until here, about there. And I was going to do this for the one ring. But then I realized I can actually change the design, because now I understand how the design works a bit better. So to get the repetition right, I need to sort of divide up the full number of stitches, so I get the repetition to go evenly around my piece. So I decided to do, I'm gonna do, so the finished portion is going to look like that, but I'm going to begin it like this, so that at the front and at the back the ring is going to be centered. And I'm gonna do that instead of these two portions. And I think I'm going to change the background for the ring to this red yarn, because I really like how that looks with the yellow yarn. That's a good enough reason. Here you can see I've made the arm opening, and then I'm going to be knitting the arm straight onto the piece. I'm not gonna stitch it on, and I'm a bit nervous about that part. But I started knitting Thursday, and today is, oh, it's actually passed over to Monday now, so it's gone faster than I thought it would. So this is the direction I'm knitting, but this is how it's going to be on me. And I think it looks really nice. It's the effect I'm going for. I'm kind of going for the whole Christmas sweater look, but with Lord of the Rings. So I'm gonna continue working on it. Sorry if the footage is mostly me talking about what I'm doing and not so much footage of me actually knitting, but I'm still pretty new at it, and I get really into it and forget to sit at the camera. So I've knitted past the bows and started on the rings. Let's see, I'm just gonna pull my needles out a bit so I don't actually accidentally unravel anything, like so. So the rings are gonna start here, or you can see they are starting here. And I did a bit of a change from what I showed you. Don't the trees look amazing? I'm so happy with how they turned out. I changed the rings to look like this instead, so they didn't take up as much space compared to the tree, and when the dragons and the eye are going to show up down here, I wanted this to be a bit smaller, and I added this just geometric pattern to be between it. So I think that's going to look better when it's all put together. At least in my mind it looks, it's going to, according to my mind, it's going to look better. And as I said, it's kind of hard to explain what I imagine in my head. Sorry if I yawn a bit during this update because I'm going to bed soon. I wanted to show you how far I've gotten. I've made the rings. See? So far so good. So it's like several the one ring, so it's not the one ring anymore. Yeah, and I'm started on the part with Sauron's eye and Smaug, and this pattern for the dragon, or like design for the dragon, I got that off of Pinterest. I'm not sure if I can find the originator for this. If I do, I'm gonna put it in here some way. If not, if someone knows and want to mention it in the comments, that would be great. So what I'm going to do now is basically this, and this is going to be the front, so front and back, so it's gonna look like this basically at the front, but with a black background. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to put spiders at the side, but I decided not to. I think I could have figured it out, but I didn't feel like it, so it was a couple of more Sauron's eyes. I also didn't want to do red spiders because that's not really a thing in Lord of the Rings. I went with the more European dragon design, or like the more Nordic dragon design, as I understand it anyway. And that's because in Tolkien's own drawings of Smaug, he has 4 legs and wings, and isn't a wyvern as in The Hobbit, the movie Hobbit. And I have an entire book on the making of Smaug. When I go through it, I'm gonna show you my like source material and stuff. So so I understand the design choice of making Smaug a wyvern in the movie, but in my head Smaug is more of a Nordic dragon with 4 legs and wings. So I went with this dragon design for my Smaug version. and also because Smaug is inspired by Fafnir. Fafnir. It's gets kind of weird when I jump between Swedish and English, but like out of Nordic mythology, the dragon Fafnir. Yes, and that's like a Nordic tale, and mostly Nordic dragons, I think, about the like four-legged dragons with wings. So that's what I'm going with. I'm working this in this more Santa bright red and this black, and at first I was quite worried about this being too bright, but I think since it sort of goes along the same theme, I guess, with the contrast as the white one does, I think it's gonna work. Hopefully. Yeah, I think it will be fine. So as long as I like it, that's the only important part. It makes me happy, so I'm the one who's going to wear it, so that's all that matters. Hi, so I have another update, and I realized I've probably been in my pajamas for most of this video. That's for me filming at the end of the day and kind of living in my pajamas. So anyway, I have done the I've done the Smaug and Eye of Sauron portion. Sauron. It's hard when I read and listened to the books and stuff in Swedish when I was little. So the English pronunciation and the Swedish pronunciation from the translation kind of gets mixed up. I'm gonna flip the camera now. Yeah, so if I say something weird, that's probably the reason. Because I watched the movies in English and read the books in Swedish, and then I've done both and several times, and I just get kind of confused by the names sometimes. Yeah, so this is the portion I've done now, and it's gonna be a lot clearer when I get a bit further down, just like with the Tree of Gondor and the doors and the bows and everything. Everything looks a lot nicer after you have knitted a bit beyond it, because now it's sort of scrunched up by my knitting needles and stuff like that. This is the side. You have two eyes instead. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. Again, the dragon design is something I found on Pinterest. The rest, the eyes and stuff like that, and the trees and everything else, I have figured out by myself. It's just the dragons that I copied from someone else. I'm gonna try to find out who the originator is. But anyway, this is how far I've gotten, and what I have left is in the original pattern. It's called A3. It's this portion. I have totally altered this, and my original alteration was this. Gandalf and the leaves they get in Lothlorien in the movie, and Sting. But I've sort of agonized about this, and I'm not super into this anymore. I mean, I wanted to get... Oh, sorry. I kind of wanted to get more characters, Gandalf, but I think Gandalf is a really important character in the books, very iconic character, so I think this, and just like wizards in general, will really add to the theme. So I decided to keep that, and I really wanted to keep the leaf and sting, but I didn't want to do it like this. So, and I also felt like Rohan wasn't really represented, which bothered me, because I felt like I have some elf representation. This is like Legolas inspired, and this theme of the green and brown, and this it's elf inspired, and the blue is also from the elves in Rivendell inspired, at least in my head. I don't know if that, I have to check my sources again. As I said, my explanations here isn't great. And this is all Gondor, and I felt like I wanted some Rohan representation. So I wanted to get some horses in, and also because horses is really, it's a very big thing in both the books and the movies, with Shadowfax, and yeah, horses keep reoccurring, so I really wanted get some horses in. So I think these looks okay, and I got the sword in just because swords, I feel like I have too few swords in this, so I need to add that. Sting became a bit more simplified, but I think it works. It's a small sword. It's actually, I think it's like a dagger actually for the species of men, and the hobbits it becomes a sword. So I wanted to get that in. So this is the new idea for doing this. I also figured out more how I could make the pattern a bit more elaborate, and as you can see, there aren't as many more saturated colors down in this portion, and that's because I used them at the top, and then I didn't want to run out of them, because from this portion down I'm going to have to use them on the sleeve, and I also already don't know if I can get the thread, the yarn to stretch to that. We shall see. I may need to order some more. Yeah, I think this will work. It will look nice, and then it will be rounded out by some of the blue in the bottom later on. I think we need a bit of a reminder about how the original design looked. This is how it looks. So it's going to, this is the portion I've just made. I don't know how well you can see. I'm gonna, so this with they are probably meant to be reindeers, but in my head I'm thinking of them as elks or like mooses, yeah, älg in Swedish, because that's what that's the interpretation I got from it. Anyway, yeah, so what I'm gonna do now is this portion here, down over the stomach and down towards the hips. So that will look great, and then comes a big portion of blue. I think I'm also gonna put blue at the wrists as well. So I might actually run out of the blue. That will, yeah, we shall see. But I think using the blue at the edges like that will sort of pull it all together in a nice way. Anyway, I'm really happy with how it's going. I have made an adjustment in the last round where I just used black, and I made an adjustment to go up to the size medium. The top has been size small. I've gone to the size medium because I was a bit worried about how it will stretch over my hips, because the size difference between the top of my body and down to my hips are much larger than my bust, so just alter the size a little bit. So I think that will make the pattern look nicer. So I'm gonna start knitting on Gandalf's shape. Okay, so update time. I've actually tried it on, so I'm gonna put up a picture. I've got a bit further since I took the picture. Oh, and I can't get it into frame now. This is how it looks now. I'm gonna change the camera angle so you can see what I've been working on since the last update. You can see my Gandalf pattern. I don't know if other people will interpret it as Gandalf, but in my mind the intention of it is clear anyway. I think it looks like the hat and his beard, so that might be one of my most unclear designs in this picture. The other ones I feel are pretty easy to interpret what they're supposed to mean. But here are Gandalf. As I said previously, it's gonna look better when I come down a bit. I'm currently working on the leaf design, so my next update we should probably have a better look at what the Gandalf portion will look like. And now you can see the Smaug and Sauron portion, how it looks much better. And that's it for the first video. As you can see, I am not even done with the body portion. But since I talked a lot about the different designs and since they will be repeated in the sleeves, the next video will be about the same length as this. If I may be able to do it, I might make it shorter. I have had a really hard time editing this, so it's gonna end up being what it is. Yeah, I'm very proud of myself for what I've gotten done so far and how it turned out, even though not everything is perfect. It is, I feel, very good for a fairly new knitter. So I'll see you in the next video in 2 weeks. Hopefully, if the yarn I need shows up, because I ran out of yarn for the cuffs of the sweater. So that will need to happen. But if not in 2 weeks, it will show up as soon as possible after those 2 weeks have passed. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more of my videos in the future, you may both subscribe and hit notification bell. If you want to leave a comment about my knitting, my designs, or just to mention your favorite part of Lord of the Rings, I would be so happy to read them. May the stars shine upon your faces and have a glorious day. Thank you and goodbye for now.